Imagine finding a small piece of American history and then discovering that collectors can sometimes pay thousands of dollars for the right example. But here's the real mystery. What if the coin sitting inside your old collection has been overlooked for decades? A tiny mint mark, a nearly perfect surface, a hidden error, or a rare variety could turn an ordinary-looking 50-cent coin into something far more interesting. Think about it. A coin you might ignore today could potentially be connected to the price of a luxury car. And in exceptional cases, the numbers can become even more surprising. So before you spend that old half-dollar, stop, look closely, because today, we're uncovering the secrets behind a coin that many people would simply pass by. Welcome to Old Coin Secrets, and let's discover what this little piece of American history could really be hiding. 1988 Kennedy half-dollar, the ordinary 50-cent coin with a hidden collector story. The 1988 Kennedy half-dollar is especially interesting because it comes from a period when Kennedy halves were being produced in copper-nickel, clad composition rather than silver. And while the normal circulated coin is generally modest in value, exceptionally preserved examples and genuine mint errors can attract serious collector attention. America in 1988, the end of an era. The year 1988 was a fascinating time in American history. Technology was rapidly developing. Personal computers were becoming more common. Television and popular culture were changing quickly, and Americans were entering the final years of the 1980s, with major changes happening in everyday life. At the same time, the Kennedy half-dollar continued carrying the image of one of America's most famous presidents. Millions of these coins were produced for commerce and collecting. But the half-dollar was no longer used as frequently as smaller denominations. As a result, many examples ended up sitting in bank rolls, collections, drawers, and old coin boxes. Decades later, collectors began looking more closely at these coins. The Kennedy half-dollar legacy. The Kennedy half-dollar was introduced in 1964, shortly after the assassination of President John F. Kennedy. The coin was created as a tribute to Kennedy and quickly became one of America's most recognizable coins. The obverse portrait was designed by Gilroy Roberts. The reverse was designed by Frank Gasparo. The front features Kennedy's portrait. The reverse features the presidential seal. By 1988, this famous design had already been part of American coinage for more than 2 decades. But the 1988 issue belongs to a completely different composition era from the famous 1964 silver Kennedy half-dollar. Composition, not a silver half-dollar. This is one of the most important things to understand about the 1988 Kennedy half-dollar. It is not a 40% silver Kennedy half-dollar like many earlier issues from the 1960s. The regular 1988 coin is made from 75% copper, 25% nickel, over a pure copper core. The coin weighs approximately 8 grams and measures about 30.6 millimeters in diameter. Because of its copper-nickel outer layer, the coin has a bright silver-colored appearance. But don't mistake that appearance for silver content. If you find a 1988 Kennedy half-dollar, remember, it is a copper-nickel clad coin, not a silver coin. Obverse, John F. Kennedy. Turn the coin over to the front. You'll see the famous portrait of John F. Kennedy. Around his portrait are Liberty, In God We Trust, and 1998. The P mint mark identifies the Philadelphia Mint. Collectors examine the portrait closely for signs of wear and damage. They look for strong hair detail, sharp facial features, original luster, clean fields, minimal contact marks, unnatural surfaces. A heavily circulated Kennedy half-dollar may show scratches, dullness, and contact marks. But a coin that survived decades with brilliant original luster can be much more desirable. Reverse, the presidential seal. Now turn the coin over, and you'll see the famous presidential seal. At the center is an eagle holding arrows and an olive branch. The design is surrounded by stars. The reverse includes United States of America, half-dollar, and E pluribus unum. Collectors inspect the eagle's feathers, stars, lettering, and overall strike quality. Strong, crisp details can make an uncirculated example particularly attractive. Why collectors notice the 1988 P? The 1988 P Kennedy half-dollar isn't considered rare simply because of its age. That's important. A normal circulated example is generally common, but collectors may become interested when the coin has exceptional condition, original mint luster, strong strike, very few contact marks, a genuine mint error, the recognized variety. This is one of the most important lessons in coin collecting. Age alone doesn't determine value. Condition, rarity, variety, and demand can matter much more. Value breakdown. Now comes the question every collector wants answered. What is a 1988 P. Kennedy half-dollar worth? For a normal circulated coin, the value is usually close to its face value. Circulated examples, 50 cents to $1 or more. Better condition examples, $1 to $10 or more. Uncirculated examples, $10 to $170 or more. Premium high-grade examples, $1,000 to $3,250 or more. But remember, these higher values are not typical for ordinary circulated examples. Premium prices are generally associated with exceptional certified grades, recognized varieties, or unusual mint eras. So if you find one in your pocket change, don't assume it is automatically worth thousands. Instead, check the condition, errors, and varieties. This is where your old 1988 P. Kennedy half-dollar can become much more interesting. Collectors examine coins for genuine minting abnormalities such as double dies, off-center strikes, decrets, OD chips, clipped planchets, missing or unusual design details. A genuine mint error can increase collector interest significantly. However, be careful. Scratches, dents, machine damage, and ordinary circulation marks are not automatically valuable errors. When a coin appears unusual, compare it with trusted references or consider professional authentication. Never clean your Kennedy half-dollar. If you discover an old 1988 P. Kennedy half-dollar, don't polish it, don't scrub it, and don't use chemicals to make it shine. Cleaning can permanently damage the original surface. Collectors prefer natural original coins. A coin with attractive, original luster is generally much more desirable than a coin that has been artificially polished. Where these coins still hide, you may still discover 1988 P. Kennedy half-dollars in old family collections, coin albums, estate sales, bank rolls, antique shops, inherited coin boxes, forgotten jars of change. Because Kennedy half-dollars were not used as frequently as quarters or smaller coins, many examples spent years sitting untouched. That makes old collections worth examining carefully. Why the 1988 P. Kennedy half-dollar still matters. The 1988 P. Kennedy half-dollar may not contain silver, and an ordinary example may only be worth around its face value. But it still represents an important part of modern American coinage. It carries the portrait of President John F. Kennedy. It features the famous presidential seal. It was struck at the Philadelphia Mint, and in exceptional condition, or with a genuine mint error or recognized variety. It can become much more interesting to collectors. So the next time you find a 1988 P. Kennedy half-dollar, don't immediately spend it. Look at the date. Find the P mint mark. Examine the surfaces. Check the luster. Look closely for unusual details. Because sometimes, the difference between an ordinary 50-cent coin and a collectible treasure isn't obvious. It can be hidden in the smallest details. A tiny mint mark, a perfect surface, a rare error, or an exceptional grade. And that is what makes coin collecting so exciting. One half-dollar, one famous president, one tiny P mint mark, and a story waiting to be discovered. That is the hidden story of the 1988 P. Kennedy half-dollar.